Small business is about courage, risk-taking, independence, and we small business owners are survivors. Everybody has an idea for a business, but how do you take that idea from mind to market? This is the place to learn.
Small Business School with Hattie Bryant.
It's a new kind of school. Together we'll learn about business from the inside out, from the people who've done it. We'll meet the men and women who are today's pioneers and quiet heroes. Their lives are the textbooks. Our classroom is the world.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
Hi, I'm Hattie Bryant. Every week right here, you meet men and women who share their experiences as small business owners. These people are the job generators and the wealth creators. We take you now to Providence, Rhode Island to meet 3 bakers who used the same recipe their grandfather brought from Italy back in the early 1900s. Yet, it hasn't been easy. This bakery was at the edge of bankruptcy when these 3 took it over in 1972. Now, after years of hard work, they're respected within their industry, are loved by their community, and they have learned a lot about sustaining and growing a business. One for all and all for one takes on a new meaning as we learn today from the Calise brothers. Calise and Sons has been baking and serving bread in New England since 1908. These trucks are a familiar and welcome sight to the hundreds of retailers and restaurateurs who buy and sell or serve their bread throughout New England. Then there are the beautiful loaves. 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, the bakery is sifting, stirring, waiting for the yeast to do its magic, baking and cooling to precisely the perfect temperature for packaging. Meet the Calise brothers. Mike is the oldest and is president of the company. Joe is the youngest and handles all administration. Bob is the middle brother and is responsible for sales.
We bought a company that was virtually bankrupt. There was a different type business. We were a retailer then. We used to go house to house, making home deliveries. And we bought the company from my father and his 3 brothers. We would have been better off if we hadn't let them go bankrupt and then buy it.
What would have happened? You wouldn't have had to take over the debt.
Right. But we did it, because of our father. And, we paid a price for it. The first 2 years that we owned the company, when we bought the company, we let 6 people go immediately. And we worked for the 6 people.
The 3 of you took the 6 jobs.
That's it. And we worked 14, 16 hours every day for the first 2 years, without a day off, except for a half a day on Thanksgiving and Christmas Day.
Where'd you get the money?
We didn't have no money. We bought the business on promissory notes. But before we took the business over, my mother called us up to supper one night, and she says, I hear through your father that you're going to buy the business. And she says, there's only one way you do it. If you want to stay in business like your father and his brothers, don't do it. If you're going to not get along, do not do it.
They didn't get along?
No, they didn't get along.
Just like always yelling at each other?
It was just a family business that was like, everybody said what they had to say, and they never had no goals, no ideas, no steps to move on to the future. Mm-hmm. So we had dinner with my mother, and she says, the only way you buy this business is you're one for all and all for one, or don't do it. And that's the way it's been for us since that day. We were always close, my 2 brothers and I, since we were kids, because of the upbringing we had with the type of mother and father we had, that we all care about each other and we all worry about each other.
When you say the type of upbringing, what does that mean?
Well, strict Italian family, values, you know, doing the right thing. We worked hard, we grew. She was there, she used to work with us. My mother used to come to work every morning at 5 o'clock.
We worked for peanuts, just to make sure that we can make the payroll and give other people more money.
So advice you would give early on in any business, as an owner, take very little so that you could give your people more.
Yeah, take very little and don't look at the clock when you're working. Don't look at the clock, because if you figured out what we made by the hour, I think it wasn't even $1 an hour. I'm telling you, it was that bad.
Right. When you all took this business, how many employees did you have?
Oh, it started out at 20, but then as soon as we took it over, that we couldn't work with my three uncles. They had a way of doing things that wasn't our way of doing things, and within 3-4 months, they were all out of there. 6 months maybe. We worked 7 days, 14 hours a day. We made it, we baked it, we delivered it.
And you went around to collect your money?
When I had to.
And then we changed the concept in the business. They were primarily a retailer, and we decided to make it a wholesale company.
How did you get that first wholesale account?
Just by knocking on doors and showing them our product and being competitively priced.
Our first big break was with Star Market in 1973, I think. And they were looking for somebody to do a private label program. They came down, they visited our plant, and we made samples for them, and we passed all the tests that were necessary, and we started with them. That was our first major private label account.
About 6 months after we moved into this building, a competitor of ours got into some trouble, and we did their work for them. Then we eventually took over their label. We bought their label and their customer list.
So do you think that's a good piece of advice for people trying to grow their business, that they might
Acquire.
Acquire.
We acquired.
So how do we build these good relationships, get the money, and handle the collections positively?
Well, it's very simple. We have, in our business, we have weekly terms, okay? So statements go out Monday morning. If they don't get paid by Friday, they're on my hit list, what I call my hit list.
What do you do when they get on your hit list?
Well, the accounts I've known for years, you don't worry about it. But some accounts, like new accounts, I watch them especially close.
Do you call them on the phone?
If I have to, but I'll watch them, and I tell my salesman, this is a new account, you better get paid every week until we see what he's all about. Because it's only bread. We work on pennies.
Don't whore the marketplace.
Don't do what? Don't what?
Don't lowball the pricing.
Okay. Don't be the cheap guy.
Yeah,
Because in the long run,
it's gonna get you.
hard work has taken the Calise's to $13 million in sales with 170 employees. Tony Capozzi is in charge of personnel. When you first came here to work,
Yes, I was working in the packaging room, packaging bread.
and how old were you?
18 maybe?
18. I asked Tony how he finds good employees.
The majority of the people is word of mouth. Actually, we have happy employees, keep them happy. They bring a lot of good quality help to you. Running ads or through employment agencies, we find minimal amount of help. Most of it is through word of mouth.
Okay, this is our middle zone of our tunnel oven. Here we're checking for color to determine if we have the right baking temperature and time.
Making perfect bread requires perfect processes. Plant manager Jimmy Fontaine works closely with Mike.
Unless somebody could have stacked it.
Mike, how'd you find Jimmy?
I found Jimmy through a priest who was a friend of mine. He said that a nice young boy needed a job for the summer. He started with me when he was 16 years old. He's been with me ever since. He really got involved. He started learning all aspects of the bakery in around 21, 22? How old? 24?
22.
22, he decided he wanted to make the bakery his life. So he said he wanted to learn more about it. AIB offered a home study course.
What's AIB?
American Institute of Baking.
Okay.
I told him, you take the home study course, you pass the course, then I'll send you to school. Took the course, passed the course, and I sent him to school in 1989 to the bakery technology course at AIB. And he's been with me ever since.
Do you like flour?
Do I like flour? Yeah, I love flour.
I mean, is it fascinating?
Yes. Yes, there's a lot of chemistry behind it. A lot of people really don't understand the whole day baking, you know, there's a lot of chemistry behind the baking process.
Tell me basically why it works.
Why it works,
Yeah.
the baking process. We start with the flour. We blow it into the building. It is then added to the mixer where we add all our other minor ingredients. We add our salt, our sugar, our oil, and our water. The whole bakery is computerized, straight from order entry right to distribution. All the formulas are in the computer, which any of the scalers can just go in and basically just dial in the formula, dial in the weight that they want, and a formula will come up designating how much flour, water, yeast, salt, sugar, so on and so forth.
Since 1972, everything at Calise and Sons has changed, except the dedication to quality Italian bread making.
This is a split roll. It's used for any type of sandwich you want. This is baking about 840 dozens an hour, 9,600 pieces.
Why is this conveyor so complicated?
The purpose of it is to give it time to get to between 95 and 104 degrees, because that's how we like to package our product.
Michael, what kind of bread is this?
Traditional Italian bread.
And so wait a minute, you can just pick it up? Isn't it really hot?
Yeah, it's about 210 degrees, but I have baker's hands. I've been doing this all my life.
The Calises have been recognized by their peers.
Where did you come up with this?
This logo was devised by Jimmy and my management people when he came back from American Institute of Baking.
You're proud of this piece of bread.
Oh,
That's
I'm
gorgeous.
very proud of this. I put this against anybody's.
What do you think it takes to grow a business? I mean, you guys started with a recipe.
Blood, sweat, and tears. A lot of blood, sweat, and tears.
Even though the Calises had to dig themselves out of a hole when they took over the company, at least they had a good product. People liked to eat their bread. By taking their mother's advice and working together, one for all and all for one, they've been unstoppable. They knew they had antiquated business practices, which they had to fix first. And then they invested in modern equipment and technology. At the same time, they invested in people. With a solid manufacturing operation, they decided their best strategy for growth was acquisition. How do you go about buying your competition? There are many ways. In this case, they didn't want to buy plants, equipment, brick and mortar. They only wanted to buy the customers, the delivery routes. If you have the system in place to produce more product, go buy your competition.
If you'd like to know more about what you've seen on this broadcast, go to smallbusinessschool.org. Tommy DeSanto has known the Calises for over 20 years.
And they have a goal, a common goal, to make Calise's Bakery the best bakery, at least in New England and maybe one day in the nation. So they have the great desire. They still have the killer instinct, and I think that's what's important.
So you write their insurance.
I write their insurance. 22 years ago, it was a big opportunity for me to write a bakery. And I was making a presentation, and Joe and Bob and Mike were in the room. And Joe was counting some money, and at the same time we're talking about my proposal. And I said, well, what do you like to do? And he says, fine. Mike said, we approve of this proposal. Let's go with it. So I proceeded to call my office, and in fact, I called the underwriter direct and bound the entire account.
It's done. It's a deal.
It's done. You're covered. I hung the phone up. I think within 6 or 7 minutes, I felt these eyes looking over my shoulders and pissing right through me, and I couldn't imagine why. And all of a sudden, Joey stands up and hands me this cash box full of money, and they're all run out of the room. So I turn around and I look out, and I'm gassed. And I look and I see flames 40, 50 feet high. I just couldn't believe it. I thought the building was totally on fire. But Thankfully, it was only some baskets and some plastic that was outside the building. I did the sign of the cross and said, "Thank you, God," and it was the beginning.
And it's been great ever since.
It's been an adventure and it's been a great time. They pay attention. They do the homework. They have a good maintenance crew. They do diligence, and they pay attention. They keep their hands on the pulse of their business.
When we all have competitors that maybe, how do I say it, go behind us or try to get our customers by undercutting prices or whatever, how do we combat that?
Well, that's a tough one. It really is. You know, you can do a lot of things. But when you start running a company, you say, well, I'm going to do this the right way, and you got to put your mind to it and go straight and narrow. And then you see somebody come by your back door, and like he goes to somebody, he says, well, I'll give you the bread for 20 cents cheaper. How's he doing it? Well, how's he doing it? Very easy. 3 or 4 people that work for him, they're getting paid cash under the table. He doesn't pay the benefits. He doesn't pay taxes. You know, what's it cost for health and welfare for your people? 35, 38%?
That's right. So you're going to always say, my prices are staying here.
Yeah, we'll move the price a little bit, depending if the account is worth it. But now I'm of the, I believe in the fact that he's been my account so long, I am not going to lose it. If I got to drop the price a little bit, I'll drop it. See, we used to win contracts. Like, if you look at contracts, with state contracts and that, we used to win them 5, 6, 7 years ago. We win them at $1.46, $1.48. Last year, we won contracts for the same product 6, 7 years later at $1.16, $1.18. This year, we lost it to $1.14. He can have that business. The people who outbid me on that, they can have that business because we're maxed out over here. So I'd rather be selling something that I'm getting $2 a dozen for than something I'm getting $1.16 from the state.
When do you think you were persistent, you kept at something, and it really did pay off?
With the Shaw's account, because it took me almost 2 years to get the private label account. And then
From the
2
time
years prior to that, I was put out of all their supermarkets by the same buyer.
you were put out of them.
Put out of
What do you
all
mean,
of them.
like thrown out?
Thrown out.
He says, I don't want to talk to Calise ever again.
It was Calise and a bunch of other companies that they threw out. And I was doing about $750,000 of business with them at the time.
Why did
We
he
were put
throw
out
you?
with a 30-day notice.
Why?
Someone else paid for the business.
Okay. So what did you do? What activities, what actions did you take to win the business back?
I saw him at a food show about 6 months later. And I asked him how everything was going. He said, not good. I said, why don't you put me back in your stores? And so we had a meeting, and he started to put me back into some of the stores, and then we started talking about the private label, and that's how it came about.
So what advice would you give a 25-year-old today who has a little money and they've started a business? What would you tell them? They didn't have your mom and dad. They didn't have your parents. And they need somebody to tell them how to do a business. What would you say?
Walk softly, carry a big stick. Don't be afraid to work. You gotta roll up your sleeves and you gotta work at it. If anything is worth getting, it's worth working for.
Do you see this as work, or do you see it as a job?
I see this as enjoyment. Like I roll up my sleeves every day and I enjoy coming to work right now.
Any fear of failure?
No,
No?
no.
No?
As long as these guys can make the product for me, I can sell it. So as long as I can sell it, the place will do well.
Oh, who in your life has been a hero to you?
My father. My father.
What do you think you learned from your father?
All the basics. Honest, sincere, hardworking. Treat people like you want to be treated. Right? Give the second chance when you have to. Right? Compassion. Yeah, my father.
So you know.
I know he's up there looking down on us. I know he's very, very proud. And I think my grandfather's going to be the proudest because this is what he would have loved to see if he was living today. because them are the ideas he had. He wanted to grow and grow and be the biggest around. You know, at that time, you know.
And you are.
Yeah, we are. Well, yeah, sort of.
Hey, if
We
I
are.
can get it in
Yeah,
the
we are.
olive
We
garden.
are. We are. We really are. I'm not trying to boast, but we really are.
Okay, what does one for all and all for one mean?
It's one pie. It's one whole pie. That's what it is.
One of us is missing, you get
We do this just here. Outside, we don't get along.
But have you ever heard, don't go to sleep on your anger?
Oh, many times.
Is that
No, I
one
never
of...
heard it.
All right.
You've never... But obviously
No.
what you're saying is that when you leave here, if you have a disagreement, you've settled it. You don't go home and simmer and be mad at each other.
95% of the time.
No, it may take till tomorrow to straighten it out.
If we come in the morning, we had a disagreement the day before. It's straightened out before the day starts. You know, we're wise enough and smart enough to know that we have to run a business and we got to get along. And you can't run it on anger. You can't run it on different personalities. You work together and you straighten it out, and that's what we do. And we've had a few, but in the next morning it's all over. It's all forgotten, and we just get along and do what we got to do.
Now, so much of this time your mom has been here,
Yes, a lot of years.
but she just died in March.
Yes.
So you know she's still watching you.
Oh, she's right on our shoulder.
Okay.
She's right on our shoulder.
Even as we embrace technology, our marketing advisor says there will always be a place for pen and paper. Okay, John, I'm a small business owner. I don't have an identity in the marketplace like big companies do. So when I'm trying to get somebody on the telephone to take my call, a lot of times it's hard. They won't take my call.
Right.
I found something really interesting. Now, what do you think of this?
Creative.
Now, these are business greetings. There's a whole catalog.
Right.
And what happens is when I use these, people start taking my phone call.
Right.
Now, what's working? What is the psychology of this?
Well, first of all, as you say, if you have a relationship with anybody, they don't talk to you. You don't
Right.
communicate with them.
Right.
What you really want to do is establish, first of all, a line of communication. Mail helps you establish that line of communication. The personalized greeting helps you identify yourself as someone who is interested personally in talking with this individual. So what the mail is helping you to do is pre-sell the person, precondition them, let them know who you are. So when they begin to look at who's calling, they have some reference. Hey, I know this person.
So if I send 3 or 4 of these, after a while, the person's going to say, okay, I'll talk to you.
Right.
But what about the handwritten note in this busy time where we're all laser speed and
Right.
cyberspace and email and faxing? How does this affect someone?
Well, I think that it shows a great deal of interest on the individual to want to reach out to the recipient. I think taking the time to write a handwritten note is one of the most important, one of the most effective communications. I understood that George Bush, over the years, established a great relationship with people all over the world because he always took the time to write a hand little note regardless of the communication. So your own personal touch is more important than anything in the communications.
All right, talk to me about stamps. If I'm going to send this card, now what I do is I use stamps. Now, do you think that's important?
I think the meter's okay, stamps okay, everything works. From time to time, though, a stamp with a personalized note is an indication of a more personal communication. And there are occasions where you can buy, because of the variety of stamps, different stamps for different occasions.
Right.
And I think what it's showing is that you're putting a little bit extra. You're putting a personal touch into this communication. You do that 2 or 3 times, and the individual knows that you really do want to establish a personal communication with you. I think using the right stamp is a really effective way of getting an open and read rate.
The business community loves our show. One owner says you're motivating, informative, and inspiring. Another calls us insightful. One says it does my soul good. Another thinks we are the true reality show. And we're called the best business educational show on television. Want to learn more? Join the thousands of small business owners who are making a difference and add your voice to our story. Visit us online at smallbusinessschool.org.
I wish we could all have met the Calise's mom. She was right. Inside any business, one for all and all for one equals success. We'll see you next time.
Small Business School is made possible by support from IBM. We're not just for big business anymore. At our website, discover how technology can move your business forward. When it's your business, everything matters. IBM. And the United States Postal Service, delivering the promise to America's 23 million small and growing businesses. There's no wait at the post office, in your own office. USPS.com is waiting for you.
If you want to learn more about starting, running, and growing a business, come to our website, smallbusinessschool.org. There's streaming video and interactive study guides.
The only way we can compete with big business is to be faster, smarter, and better. We are the engine of the American economy. We create the jobs. Small business is about big commitment. It's about sacrifice and struggle. But we do it because we say, if I don't do this, my life won't be complete.